power does work. You know, for example, in Scotland at the start of 2020, there was a mass movement against the lockdown. The anti-lockdown movement, it was obviously worldwide, UK-wide, in different segments, you know, and they all kind of intersected. Now, so if that didn't work, if that had no effect whatsoever, they would have completely ignored it. However, they never completely ignored it. They tried to. They spend a lot of money trying to ignore it by paying the press, which they'd obviously already paid the press a year's money, a hush money, to not report anything critical of lockdown or their other measures. But they forgot to pay the payment for the next year. So on January 8th, 2022, the hush money dried up and the media reported us, and we got good press because there was nothing happening at the time. So we get really good press, which is surprising. And I think basically that was partly the reason that Alex Belfield got the jail, because he was an independent journalist. He was a rising independent journalist with a good voice, a growing channel, charismatic, intelligent, and he made a video about that as well. But I mean, that's the power. You know what I mean? They've been trying to ignore this, and then all of a sudden it's on mainstream, it's on alternative, it's everywhere. Now, they spent a lot of money trying to shut down these protests. Now, I don't know how wide this story goes, so I might be telling some of these now for the first time, but the police targeted certain individuals. They tried to coerce them into an interview without a lawyer. Right, so they did that with many people. They also shut down a pub that they believed was affiliated with the anti-lockdown movement on Hogmanay, when they never found anybody there that was who they were looking for. So they just arrested a lot of mostly elderly people who were trying to enjoy Hogmanay. A couple of days later, 8 days later, we had a march, and because of the police's actions against our individuals and against the pub and the people going there, and not only that, there was a few other things that I'll mention in a minute. That was the biggest march I've ever seen in Glasgow, and they tried to stop it. They tried to say that this is an illegal assembly, we have no right to have an opinion, therefore we should just cease and desist and go home, or else they're going to lift us all, and possible imprisonment and unlimited fine. So that's what we're told. So obviously everybody just marched through them because they weren't turning up for no reason, and their conviction was more so than the police. So the police get marched through that day. Any shouts by the police to tell us that we were unlawful were drowned out by our chants. Any attempt by the police to control the march or obfuscate us walking, we just kept walking through them. And obviously 6 people can't control over 1,000 people. So it's basic maths. I'm unaware if these police officers that were there that day were any good at maths. I'm guessing they weren't. So a couple of weeks later than that, they had the most police officers I've ever seen in my life. All different colours. They had guys in orange, so they're the video recording people. There's rumours that they brought them up for England. I don't know why you would have to bring people up for England just to work a camera, so take that with a pinch, but there was an awful lot of police, and they were pointing the cameras at everybody, singling people out. And I mean, they didn't do this because the marches weren't effective. They did it because they were effective, you know. And it was their attempt to try and take the sting out of the marches. Anybody that looked lively or whatever, anybody they didn't like really, they would lift in the hope that that would take the sting out of the marches in future, which it didn't. Ah, you fucker!